Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to Smith's Kitchen, as always, Brian Kitchen. And this morning I thought we would do that cheesecake I was talking about yesterday during dinner. And the cheesecake in and of itself is pretty easy, it's pretty simple. I'm trying to remember where I got the original recipe from. I'll put it right here somewhere. I just remember the lady's name was Linda. That's all it said was Linda, but it was off of a site. And I changed it a little bit, but not by much. I changed the crust. The filling is pretty much her recipe, and I'm going to top it a little different, only because I'm going to use the cookies that I use. She used a graham cracker crust. I am trying something new. We're going to use Archway lemon cookies. They were my favorite cookie as a kid. I don't eat them very often anymore, but on occasion. It's like a special occasion thing for me. And I wanted to make a crust with them, so we're going to try that out and see how that turns out. Because they're a soft cookie, unlike the Oreos. They're a really soft cookie, so I'm thinking it's going to be more like my snickerdoodle cheesecake, where the cookies were soft. They were homemade and they were soft, but we'll see. And if you have time, you can make your own lemon cookies and use those, or you can use a hard lemon cookie, I suppose. But anyhow, that's what I wanted to run with, so that's what I'm going to do. But I think this thing is going to turn out amazing all the same. So that's what we're going to do today, and I won't take up too much time just because my cheesecake videos seem to run a little long. But anyhow, if you're new, welcome. If this is your first video, check out some of the others if you so are inclined, and see what you think. If you are returning, thank you. If you're a new subscriber, as always, thank you. And with that being said, don't forget to like, subscribe, share. That helps get us out in the algorithm, and helps our community grow, helps the neighborhood get a little larger. If you are new, our channel is based around food and being a good neighbor and communication and having a good conversation, taking care of one another, basically through food and kindness. That being said, let's get down to the counter, and we will I'll give you all your measurements and cups, tablespoons, teaspoons. I also do grams and milliliters. That way everybody can play along. If there happens to be a third way to measure things, let me know down in the comments, or on the Facebook page, Mr. Smith's Kitchen, and I'll try to start using those also. But anyhow, that being said, let's get down to the counter and let's get the ball rolling on the filling for this cheesecake. What do you say? All right, hold on for me just 1 second. Okay, we're down here at the counter, got all the ingredients. I'm gonna use my stand mixer. You could use a hand mixer, but you wanna do everything on low. Cheesecakes are supposed to be dense, not light and fluffy, so you don't wanna put any air or as little air as possible into them. I have a stand mixer, so that's what I'm gonna use. If you're using a stand mixer, use your pedal attachment. I did wanna show you real quick though, there is our crust. To make that crust, I'll leave the ingredients list down below, but it was basically 297 grams, or about a package and 2 cookies worth of the Archway lemon cookies, and 6 tablespoons, or 86 grams of butter. Go ahead and set that back on the rack so it can finish cooling. It was still a little warm. Alright, so to make our cheesecake filling, like I said, this is easy. It's just a handful of ingredients. Now the topping is going to be a lemon curd, which I know here at our house we love lemon curd. So hopefully we'll really enjoy this cheesecake. But anyhow, we'll get to the curd after we bake the cheesecake. So we got to bake the cheesecake first and let it cool, and that's going to be a process we'll talk about here shortly. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our, we got 3 blocks of cream cheese right there. That's 24 ounces of cream cheese, and we're going to put that in the bowl. So the next thing we need is 1 cup, 200 grams of sugar, and it's just plain old regular white sugar. And to that, I am going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon zest. And all I did was just take the zest, the outside of the lemon, off the lemon, the yellow part, and you don't want any of the white part. So the white part is really bitter, and the yellow part is actually kind of sweet. But we're gonna put that into our, and there's no, I couldn't get it to weigh on my scale, so if there is a weight for lemon zest, but it is about 3 lemons worth of lemon zest. And this does take a fair amount of lemons. You'll probably wanna buy an entire bag of lemons for this, because we're gonna use 90 grams of, or milliliters of juice for this, and the curd, which takes quite a few lemons. And then the zest takes quite a few lemons. But we want to take that zest and we're going to pre-mix it in our sugar. Reason for that is the curd is moist, right? And what can happen is if you don't get it in here and break it up, you know, with the sugar, so to speak, let the juices get into the sugar, and let the lemon zest kind of do its thing, is you'll end up with giant clumps of lemon zest. So we want to get that in there, and that way it stays separated and goes throughout the mix. And then we're going to take that 1 cup 200 grams of sugar and our 2 tablespoons of lemon zest, and we're going to put that in there with it. All we got to do now is run our mixer on, we're going to run it on a low speed. If you're using a stand mixer, start out on stir and don't take it any higher than 2. That way it doesn't get air into it. And we're gonna let this run for about 3 to 5 minutes until it's completely smooth and creamy, no lumps, right? Okay, so we let that run. Now we're gonna take our spatula here real quick and check, make sure we don't have any big lumps or clumps in there. Give everything a good scrape, and once through with the spatula, that's the key to a good cream cheese, really. Making sure your stuff is at room temperature, everything, eggs, cream cheese, and depending on the cheesecake, it could be sour cream, it could be yogurt, it could be heavy cream. I mean, it just really depends on the recipe. Yeah, but that's what we're looking for, is smoothness. No lumps. You don't want to bite into a good cheesecake and find a chunk of cream cheese in there. Cream cheese, for all its glory, in my opinion, doesn't taste all that good just by itself. You would never catch me eating bagel and cream cheese on its own. Flavored cream cheese, yes, but not just plain old cream cheese. All right, so we're good to go there. Next thing we're going to put into this is 3 tablespoons, 26 grams of just regular old all-purpose flour, right? I'll put that in there. I sifted that beforehand, just make sure we didn't have any lumps. Makes it smooth, or it makes it a little easier to smooth in, and doesn't give us lumps. And we're just going to, make sure this is well incorporated. Once again, on low, no air. All right, we got our flour mixed in there, well incorporated. So our next 2 ingredients are going to be sour cream, 3/4 cup, which is 173 grams of sour cream. We'll go ahead and get that in the bowl. And like I said, all this is at room temperature. Now, at room temperature, I actually set my stuff out late last night. I mean, very late last night. It's probably about 11:30, 12 o'clock, to let it sit out. I have no qualms with that. If you don't feel like you want to leave it out that long, you want to at least give it 45-ish minutes. And with your sour cream, when it gets up to room temperature, you will have like a little bit of water on it. Just take it off. You don't have to mix it up, just take it off. And then to that, we're going to add 6 tablespoons, 90 milliliters of lemon juice. Now, since we have the lemon zest, you could go ahead and use lemon juice, but let's say you don't have enough lemon juice, fresh squeezed lemon juice. It's okay. Just use bottled lemon juice. Not that big a deal, in my opinion. Some people would be like, oh, Marty, you can't do that. I have never had a problem with bottled lemon juice. It's actually very consistent. So we're going to incorporate this as soon as I figure out what's going on with my mixer. There we go. And once we get that well incorporated, we only have one more ingredient left to add into this. All right, we got that well incorporated. Now we'll give her a good scrape. Yeah, make sure we got everything going on right. Yeah, scrape as often as possible. You know, it will not hurt anything. It's what you do, right? Just like such. Give this a good scrape down. Make sure we are well mixed. Now it's hard to tell if you're well mixed, at least so far with this batter, because it's all white. I mean, you just got to kind of feel for it. You know, it should have a nice even feel when you run your spatula through here, not like a quick liquidy part and a dense part. It should be nice and even. And this is always, like I said, a good time to check for lumps. Because let's say you have lumps, even at this point, you know, let it run. Just turn your mixer back on, you know, 1 or 2, and let it run until you have no more lumps. It will not hurt anything to sit here and mix this, you know, until you are lump free, so to speak. All right, so we got that taken care of. Next thing we got to do is put our eggs in. It's the last thing we have to do, as a matter of fact. And in this bowl, even though I have one that's broke, I don't know if you can tell or not, but I have 3 eggs, 3 whole large eggs at 150 grams, but then I have 2 egg yolks in here, and one of my egg yolks broke. And once again, room temperature. So we're just gonna put this online. We're gonna turn our mixer back on, and the egg yolks are right around 27 grams, I think, each. It'll vary on the egg, even store-bought. But we're gonna put these in one at a time, and we're gonna wait until the egg is incorporated in, okay? Okay, so I got all my eggs in there, and while that was mixing, just to ensure that everything is truly smooth, I went ahead and lined my springform pan. This is a 9-inch springform pan, by the way, with foil. And I should have told you earlier when we started this adventure, preheat your oven to 300 degrees. You're going to bake this at 350, and once I got done baking this at 350 for 10 minutes, I just went ahead and turned it down to 300 degrees and let it go. But I went ahead and made sure that was smooth. I lined my pan up. I've got my roasting pan right here, so that way we can water bath it. We are going to water bath this, so now we're just going to turn that off and open it up there like such. We'll get our spatula. We're going to give it one more scrape down just to make sure. Go ahead and get that out of there. Really, the most time-consuming part of this cheesecake is letting it cool. Cheesecake can be a very funny creature. It can, if you don't let it cool slow enough, it'll crack. Which, at least with most of my cheesecakes, if it gets a small crack, it's not a huge ordeal because I cover most of my cheesecakes, with a topping, whether it be, like in this case, lemon curd, or the caramel last week, or Oreos, or peanut butter, or whatever. So you don't really see it, but you want to you want to cool it as slow as possible, which means time. Not that it means that you have to stand there the entire time, but all the same. All right, so we're going to go ahead. Let me move the camera down here so that way you can see what's going on. All right, so we're just going to take this, our batter. We're going to pour it in here as evenly as possible. So with the foil, real quick, I use a 16-inch wide foil. Now, not everybody has 16-inch wide foil in their house, I'm sure. I do because I make enough cheesecakes to justify it. But I mean, really, you can use it for anything. If you use foil to cook with, 16-inch foil is good. It goes on full baking sheets. It covers the grill. I mean, whatever it is you do with your foil, 16-inch, the wider foil does well. I mean, I have 12-inch foil also for small jobs, but the reason why you want a 16-inch foil is 12-inch foil doesn't quite cover the entire cheesecake, and you end up having to use 2 pieces. And when you use 2 pieces with a water bath, you run the risk of the water getting up into your cheesecake, which can ruin your crust. It can ruin the cheesecake too, but definitely the crust. It'll make the crust mushy, and we don't want that. All right, so we've got our batter in our springform pan with our crust that's already done. Like I said, 350, 10 minutes. We've got our foil on there, so the next thing we're going to want to do is grab our pan, right? Here, let me get this out of the way real quick. Ugh. Since we moved the fridge, it makes it a lot easier to put things away a little quicker, at least on as far as equipment goes. We're going to take our pan, we'll set our cheesecake down in there. Now, we could just go ahead and pour our water in now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my oven. I'm going to pull out my rack, which you want your rack in the center. We're going to bake this in the center of the oven. I am going to set it in there. This is just a little safer. And then I have got some super hot water that I am going to put, and it's super hot tap water, that I will pour into my roasting pan, and we're going to bring it up about 1 inch around the sides. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter how much you pour in there. You want enough in there to make sure that it does not evaporate, but you don't want it to go above, the foil. So I'm gonna say 1 inch of water, and we're gonna put this in here for 75 minutes. Boom. At 300 degrees. Right? So we've got our cheesecake in there, and we're gonna bake it for 75 minutes at 300 degrees in our water bath, right, with at least 1 inch of water on there, not to exceed the halfway part or halfway up the pan. After that, I'm going to turn the oven off. I'm not going to open up the door. I'm just going to turn the oven off. I'm going to let it sit in there while the oven cools down for 30 minutes. Then I am going to crack the oven door open, let it sit in there with the oven door cracked for 30 minutes. Then I'm going to take it out, put it on the rack. I'll take it out of the foil, and all of that, out of the water bath, out of the foil, set it on the cooling rack, and I'm going to let it sit for about another 10 minutes, and then we're going to make the lemon curd that goes on top, because we want to get that on there while it's still a little warmer than room temperature. The curd will thicken very quickly, and we don't want it so thick that we can't put it on top of the cheesecake, right? So when I come back, we're going to make the lemon curd, top the cheesecake, and then talk about what to do next. All right, see you here in a second. Okay, so we let it bake for the hour and 15 minutes it was supposed to in the water bath. I turned the oven off, let it go for 30 minutes without opening the door. Now, to check it, I opened up the door about 10 minutes before it was done and gave it a slight wiggle, which means I grabbed the entire pot. This is actually cool enough now I can grab it. I grabbed the entire water bath pan, the roasting pan, and I shook it, and it just lightly jiggled in the center. That's what you're looking for. So I quickly shut the door, let it finish baking, I turned the oven off, did not open up that door, let it go for 30 minutes. I checked it 10 minutes before I turned it off because I know that that's enough recovery time, and I did it quick enough that it would still be at the 300 degrees it was supposed to be at. Then after that 30 minutes was up, I opened up the door, just cracked it a little, which let the heat out slowly, and let that sit in there an additional 30 minutes, and I just pulled it out of the oven probably about 10 minutes ago while I got the stuff together to make the lemon curd. So let me get this back over here real quick. I'll get you down to the counter and we'll start making our curd. Hold on for me 1 second. Okay, we're back down here to the counter. I've got a small saucepan sitting right here with water in it, and it's just enough water that if I put that on top of it, it doesn't touch this. We have to use a double boiler. If you don't have a true double boiler, you can do like I do. Bowl in a pot with a little bit of water. Do not use a glass bowl. Ceramic isn't even recommended, and if you are going to use ceramic, make sure your whisk has a coating on it. You don't want to scratch it up. But metal is preferred. Glass is kind of a no. I've used it, but people frown upon that. So the first thing we need to do is take 6 tablespoons, 76 grams of sugar, and we're going to put it in our bowl. Okay, and that's just plain old sugar. And then we're going to follow that up with 1 tablespoon of lemon zest, just like such. And we're going to go ahead and get that mixed in. It's just kind of like making the cheesecake all over again. The only difference being instead of using cream cheese, we're going to use butter. But that's all right. But this is how you make curd, and I have never made curd before, but Chris has. Those of you that are new, Chris is my wife, and she's a pretty cool chick. But get that in there, give that a good stir around just like before, so we don't get it all clumped up in there. Although we're cooking this, so a double boiler method is used, the only time I've ever used it is for chocolate, when you melt chocolate. And what it does is it allows it to melt at a little slower rate without direct heat being on the bottom of the bowl. That way you don't burn your chocolate in that case. This one here, which I'm going to go ahead and turn my stovetop on now, so that way we can get that water warming up. But you don't want a high heat, because what we're going to do is we're going to steam the bottom of this pan. Next thing we're going to add to this, I have 6 large egg yolks. I have no idea what the weight on that's going to be, but it's just the yolks. And I have these at room temperature. Well, they're cool, they're warmed. They're not exactly room temperature, they haven't been out that long. We're going to put that in there and give that a good stir. They've been out about a half hour. I know with butter it's considered softened, or cream cheese, but not quite room temperature, but soft enough that we can mix them. So you do that. You put your eggs out at room temperature primarily to make them easier to break up, but it also aids in, I don't remember to save my life, but the main reason is just so they break up easy and mix in easier, so you don't spend a whole lot of time making them crazy. And then once again, 90 milligrams or milliliters of lemon juice, fresh squeezed or otherwise. But like I said, fresh squeezed would probably, I guess be best, but this is fresh squeezed only because I needed the lemon zest. So in this case, you're going to need about 6 lemons total to make this. 4 of them are going to be zested for the cheesecake, 2 of them zested for the lemon curd, and oddly enough, 6 lemons gives you about a total of 180 milliliters of lemon juice, which in turn is exactly what you need to make both the cheesecake and the curd. So we got those mixed up, and then I've got a 1/4 cup, half a stick, 57 grams of butter, unsalted butter. We're going to put that in there, and we're not going to stir it up, although it is on its way to being room temperature. It's not quite room temperature. And then we are going to put this over the double boiler like this, and as it heats up, we're just going to sit here and we're just going to consistently stir it. And what's going to happen is it's going to, as the butter melts and it starts to warm up, it's going to start to thicken. So as it thickens, we're going to check the temperature on it. I've got a thermometer, I got to go get it still. And we want this to be between 170 and 180 degrees. That way we know we've hit the proper temperature to pour it on top of the cheesecake and not recook the top of the cheesecake, but so it'll thicken when we get it in the fridge, so to do its job. That's how you make a lemon curd. It does require a kind of precise temperature of 170 to 180 degrees will get there quicker because we had everything at room temperature or close to it. All right, so let me get that to that point, and when we come back, we'll start putting it on top of the cheesecake. Okay, so I got her up to 180 degrees, and I took her off the heat. And I want to show you this real quick if I can get my hands on it long enough to hold it up to the camera, so you can kind of see what you're looking for. At 170, it wasn't quite getting it, but see how it's almost like a pudding consistency? That's kind of what you're wanting. It should just, you know, it shouldn't be runny. So we're going to go ahead and pour this on here. I'm going to stir it for a second though, so that way we can get it to cool down a little bit. You don't want it to completely cool. It will turn into one solid gelatin mold thing. We basically made a custard. But it's called lemon curd, you know, and that's no different than how you would make a custard pie, essentially, only without the double boiler trick. You put it in the oven in a pie crust. So, which is why you don't want this to be completely cold. And I don't know if you made cheesecakes with me before. The one thing we did not do was put the I take a offset spatula or a small spatula, metal spatula, and take it off the edges. It didn't say to, and this part was kind of a guessing game. The end of it is, and that's because it didn't say to take it off the edges. It didn't say to put saran wrap on it when you put it in the fridge, but I am going to guess that we're going to, or at least I am going to, because I don't want it to turn. So most things, when you put them in the fridge, baked good wise, like this custard or even a cheesecake for that matter, or a pie, a custard pie, whatever, if you put it in the fridge without something over the top of it, it will get a skim coat, and you have to, I mean, most of the time you can just peel it off, but it can lead to an unsmooth surface, things like that. So we'll get our lemon curd on there, just like such. Like I said, I did not put I did not pull it away from the edge of the springform pan yet. We'll do that when it gets cold, before we take it out of the springform, which this go around, most of the time I don't take it out of the springform with you guys. I figure that's kind of self-explanatory, but maybe we'll do it this time in order to see how it works with the curd. So we got that on there, right? And it's already starting to set up because it's cooling down. And what I'm going to do is I am going to put saran wrap on this. I'm going to put it in the fridge. And as soon as I get this smoothed out a little bit more, and it should smooth as it goes, but yeah, there's some pretty big divots, so to speak. But, all right, good enough for government work, so to speak. So we've got the lemon curd on there, we've got the cheesecake made. Now comes the part where we just kind of hurry up and wait, right? Like I said, I am going to put saran wrap on this because I know with a lot of custard pies, you put the saran wrap on it, but it doesn't stick to the saran wrap or the plastic wrap or whatever it is you use. And I'm gonna stick it in the fridge. How long do we stick it in the fridge for? 6 to 8 hours. 6 hours minimum. Overnight, best practice. But to me, in my mind, overnight is what is the average amount of sleep? About 8 hours. So we're talking 6 to 8 hours. I'm gonna lean towards 8 hours, which will make it about 7, 8 o'clock tonight, which is fine. That's about dessert time because we're not gonna eat dinner till late. I got some things to do outside with framing. I want to finish putting the rafters in, and then I gotta go downstairs do water changes. It'll be dinner time. We'll cook dinner, so that'll be about right for us. And then when I take it out, we'll finish her up in a tri-piece. All right. So I'll be back in just 1 second. Okay. So we just let that chill overnight. It actually turned out to be almost 9 hours exactly. Got sidetracked with a lot of stuff. Got a lot of little things almost accomplished today. It's the craziest stuff ever. Got some of the framing done on the, some more of the framework done on the porch, on the awning. Got some stuff done and organized in the basement. Did some cooking and let this thing chill. And did manage to tell you I took a nap. That never happens really, but I got to take a nap today. So anyhow, back to the point at hand. Let's get down here to the counter because we got a little bit of work left to do before we can eat this bad boy. Here at the counter, and I have done nothing to it. It's still saran wrapped and all that good stuff, but we're gonna go ahead and get that saran wrap off there and see. Nothing came off with it, just like it should be. It's just got a nice little skim coat on there that, you know, for that little slight top layer, but they're big chunks. And that way we don't have any moisture on the top. Nothing like that, just good and solid lemon curd. And we'll go ahead and get this popped. Actually, before we pop that, let's loosen it up from the sides. We'll take our spatula here. And I have learned through trial and error, the more flexible the spatula, kind of the better it is to run with. Looks like it's messing up the curd a little bit. That's all right. A little extra. The curd is good. Now we'll release it. Maybe. There we go. Not too shabby. Got a little bit along the edges there, but nothing really to complain about. Matter of fact, I can even show you how to fix that, but we gotta get it off the pan. So we'll go ahead and clean off our spatula here real quick. No sense in making multiple dishes. That cleaned up. There's that. So to get, this is how I take mine off. Now you'll see some people say parchment paper underneath. I find parchment paper to be a headache. So what I do is I just find my skinniest spatula possible, pop it underneath there, and I run it around the cake until it breaks itself free, which usually doesn't take much. We're basically just moving the butter around, or releasing the butter from the pan. Then it just slides right off in one big whole chunk. No fuss, no muss. And now we are on the pan, rid of the spatula. And then, I mean, what you do after this point is completely up to you. I'm gonna put some whipped topping on it. There is our finished product. Lighting seems to be a bit much on this bad boy. The lighting in this kitchen's horrible, but that's all right. Once we get around to the remodel for this kitchen, or even the one downstairs, get it finished, we'll be in good shape. So I already went ahead and made up some whipped topping. It's a really easy whipped topping. It's literally, I only know it in grams. It's 445 grams of heavy cream, 67 grams of sugar, 1 gram of cream of tartar, which is a stabilizer, so that way it'll last longer than a day. And then 4 grams of vanilla, which is 1 tablespoon, a quarter teaspoon, or 1 teaspoon, quarter teaspoon, a third of a cup of sugar, and 2 cups, 2 cups of heavy cream. So we'll go ahead and get these on here real quick. And then we just whipped it to stiff peaks. Okay, we got our whipped topping on there. Nice pretty little design. You know, nothing horribly fancy, but not too shabby. Corner in real quick here. And then I cut up some of the Archway cookies just to kind of throw them in here to make it look nice. You know, because like I said, I've never actually tried this before, so I don't know how it's going to taste. But, you know, we want it to look nice. You know, that's always important, especially if you're making something like this for a party. You know, you want it to be, you want people to go, oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah, well, I mean, or whatever, but I know I do. I like things to look pretty. So we'll go ahead and get those on there real quick. And then of course, if you wanted, you could always crumble some up and put them around there too. You know, you can make it your own, really. You didn't have to put, you don't have to put any of the cookies on there. You could just left it with the whipped topping. You didn't even have to doll up the whipped topping. You could just simply take it, scoop it out with a spoon, put it on top, and run with it. But I wanted it to look nice for us, right? So that, my friends, is our lemon cheesecake. So all we have left to do is give it a try, right? So let me find a plate. I'll just grab the plate we had the cookies on, and which I think was my initial plan anyhow. And we will cut us a slice out. Now remember, with cheesecake, it's always good to let it sit for a minute. I mean, not very long at all, really, but a minute at any rate, so that way you know that the crust doesn't it cuts. Because remember, your crust has got a bunch of butter in it, and that butter, when it sits in the fridge, gets really, really hard, and it can make it a challenge to cut it. But I actually think we're in good shape. This crust, okay, so those cookies are soft, right? So that, I noticed when I went to pour the filling in, and I grabbed the crust, that, wow, look at that, isn't that gorgeous? That it was still a little soft. You know, not like soft that we can't use it soft, but soft like I used a soft cookie. And I didn't think it would be a problem, just because our Snickers cheesecake was, our Snickerdoodles cheesecake was like that. But there, my friends, is our piece, and that's a nice looking cheesecake. Now I'll show you this part real quick. Right there, looking gorgeous. See, look at that, nothing fell. You know, no crumbs, no runs, no fuss, no muss. That looks amazing. So now we're down to just giving it a shot, right? Yeah, get you back up here so I can see your smiling face, because a day without seeing your smiling face is a rough one, I'm here to tell you. Oh, I like it when we hang out together. It's one of my favorite things, hands down. So, let's see how we did. Bam, that was perfect. Oh my goodness. That is just enough tartness to make your lips want to pucker, and just enough sweetness that it doesn't want to kill you. Holy cow, I could end up eating this whole pie. It really does almost just taste like a cheesecake version of those Archway cookies. That, my friends, is just amazing. That is everything I thought it would be. And it just screams summertime, happiness, refreshing. I know the kids have been waiting all day for this bad boy to come to fruition, and I don't think they're going to be disappointed one iota, because I know I'm not. I almost want to giggle, it's so good. That is a great cheesecake, and it was not hard to make. Not hard to make at all. The hardest part about this entire cheesecake was the wait, but well worth it, hands down. Give this one a try, please. I mean, that's up there in the top 5 cheesecakes I make. Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the cheesecake playlist, there's a lot of cheesecakes on there. I think altogether I have 25 different recipes for cheesecake, and still there's tons more out there. I mean, there's like an endless supply of cheesecake recipes. But try this one. I guarantee no disappointment at all with this. Let me know if you do. Leave me a comment down below. You can find me on Facebook with the Mr. Smith's Kitchen group. You know, leave a comment there. Maybe share a recipe. Share a picture if you do make this. You know, to see how yours turned out. You know, does it look like this one? Does it? You know, did you just dollop a giant thing of whipped topping on the top? Did you just eat it without whipped topping at all? Like I said, there's endless possibilities to how you decorate the top of a cheesecake. That's just one of a million. So, give this a try. Next week, I don't know what we're gonna do for dinner. Well, actually, I do, but I don't remember what it was. It was like a Texas spaghetti something or another, but I don't remember now what it was, but I have it written down. So, it'll be a surprise for next week if I don't see it before then. Dessert, I really have no clue. None at all. I don't think it's going to be another cheesecake, but you never know. I've been on kind of a cheesecake kick lately. I would like to try out maybe some cookies or something. Keep the versatility rolling. And that's good, you know, to play around with, like, oh, actually, you know what? I know exactly what we're going to do next week. We're going to do a Mississippi mud pie for dessert. I saw a list of like 50 different pies, and that was on there, and I thought, oh, that sounds good, because that was almost this week's video until this was mentioned. And Chris was like, oh, that sounds really good too, but this sounded so refreshing, we just couldn't not do it. So I know next week for dessert is going to be a Mississippi mud pie, and I really don't remember what the dinner idea was, but if I do remember, I'll put it right here. So if you made it to the end of the video, you'll know what next week's dinner is. Till then, I love you. I love you very much. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate the fact you take time to come and hang with me. That shows me that you love me more than I could ever know. Tell somebody else you love them, and that you love them very much. They may need to hear that, especially the way the world is headed. We need love more than ever. We need being a good neighbor, being in communication. We need friends more than ever. They're going to know that you mean it. It's going to make you feel good to tell them that. And if you make them one of these lemon cheesecakes, holy cow, are they going to know that you love them, and that could bring a whole day of conversation, good times, and relaxation. All right, so till next week for dinner, I love you. I'll see you then. Talk to you later. All right? Bye.